Welcome to this channel. Mau belajar bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris dengan cara yang seru, santai, dan mudah dipahami? You're in the right place. Belajar kosakata dan ekspresi sehari-hari. Learn daily vocabulary and expressions. Dengarkan contoh situasi nyata. Listen to real-life examples. Subscribe sekarang dan nyalakan notifikasi. Let's learn together and have fun.
Welcome to the deep dive. Great to have you with us on Modecart channel today. We've got a really focused and I think fascinating exploration lined up. Our mission basically is geared towards those of you learning Indonesian. We're taking a deep dive into a specific article. It's titled Beginner S1 S-Tag 23 Going to Church in Indonesia. And look, this isn't just about translating words from A to B. It's really about unlocking the language, the grammar, and those cultural nuances that are kind of hidden inside what looks like a pretty simple conversation.
Exactly. And what's really powerful, I think, is just how much practical insight you can actually pull from what seems like a basic everyday chat. This isn't just vocabulary drill. It's about getting why certain phrases pop up, how they set the tone, and what they subtly tell us about Indonesian culture. Insights you can actually use right away to make your own Indonesian sound, more natural.
Totally. Our source material today is this brilliant lesson guide. It's got everything: the Indonesian English dialogue, key vocab, sample sentences, explanations for how phrases are used, grammar rules, and even a pretty significant cultural insight piece. So, okay, let's unpack this thing. It's a fantastic way to see how language and culture really weave together. They don't just sit side by side, they actively shape each other, especially when you're trying to get a real feel for a new place.
Yeah, it's a much more holistic way to learn, isn't it? By connecting the dots between, a casual conversation like this, specific words, and the bigger cultural picture, this whole deep dive gives you a real shortcut to being properly informed. Not just about the language itself, but about, a genuine slice of Indonesian life.
Okay, so let's jump straight in. The core of this lesson is a conversation. It's between two people, Donnie and Hannah, and they're talking about going to church. What strikes me right off the bat is how natural it sounds. It really captures how people actually talk.
And for you, as someone learning the language, just observing that natural flow is so important. It helps you pick up those common phrases, understand the little cultural cues, the behaviors that often get missed in textbooks, this kind of back and forth. That's where the language really lives and breathes.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, let's walk through it line by line. We can sort of pick out the nuances as we go. Donnie kicks things off with a pretty clear preference. He says, "Aku lebih suka kita ke gereja di pagi hari." Which in English is basically, I'd prefer we go to church in the morning. Now, is that preference for morning services like a common thing? Or does it maybe tell us something specific about Donnie, or maybe just a general habit?
Well, preferences obviously vary, but yeah, morning services are definitely popular. But what's interesting is Donnie's phrasing, "Aku lebih suka." It's quite gentle, isn't it? It's a preference, not really a demand. And Hannah's response kind of reinforces that flexibility. She says, "Maaf, aku terlambat bangun. Lagi pula kita bisa mengikuti kebangsaan Sur sesignifikannya." Which translates to, "I'm sorry for waking up late. Besides, we've attended the afternoon service just once or twice."
Man, see, as she uses la jupila there, it adds a sort of justifying reason. That's a really common conversational tactic in Indonesian.
Right, like adding besides, or anyway. And then Donnie shows a bit of surprise, like he's noticed a change. He says, "Aku tidak tahu kalau orang lebih banyak mengikuti kebaktian Sur." Or, "I don't know if more people are attending the afternoon service." I find that fascinating, how just a simple observation like that can give you a little window into local habits or, patterns.
It really does. That one line tells us maybe not just about church attendance, but potentially about the rhythm of daily life there. For lots of people, maybe an afternoon service fits better after morning tasks or work. Or it could just be that it's more of a social thing later in the day, where bigger groups gather. It's a small detail, but it hints at wider social stuff.
Yeah, good point. And then Hana brings it back to the present. Pendeta sudah datang, kita akan mulai kebaktiannya. Here comes the father. We'll start the service. Very practical, very in the moment.
And Denny, still looking around, replies, Bahkan tempat duduk di balkon terisi penuh. So, even the balcony seats are fully occupied. That really paints a picture, doesn't it? A packed church. Suggests it's a big service or maybe just very popular. And that word bahkan, meaning even, it really underlines how packed it is, maybe surprisingly so.
Which then leads to Hana's classic command or request, maybe, harap, tenang, which is, of course, shh, be quiet. Definitely a useful one to know how to say or recognize.
Oh yeah, very common and quite direct. You'll hear that in lots of places where quiet's needed, libraries, ceremonies, you name it.
And Donnie's response is equally common, maybe a little embarrassed. Oops, math. Oops, sorry. So, yeah, it's a simple exchange, but like you said, you can hear how it's just packed with these little insights into everyday Indonesian chat.
What really stands out, I think, especially if you're learning, is seeing how these short, simple sentences actually combine to make a real conversation flow. It's not just about knowing the words in isolation, is it? It's how they link together to send those subtle social messages and feelings in, real time.
Exactly. That natural flow they have, it's built up word by word. So let's zoom in a bit on the specific vocabulary, the words that are really the backbone of their chat. This is where you start building your own toolkit for Indonesian.
And understanding the grammatical role of each word, like is it a noun, a verb, an adverb? That helps you actually use them correctly in your own sentences. It helps you move past just recognizing them to, actually applying them yourself.
Okay, let's start with bahan. We just heard Donnie use it. It means even in English, and grammatically it's an adverb. The sample sentence they give is, bahkan di hari Minggu dia berangkat kerja. Even on Sunday, he goes to work. See how it emphasizes something a bit unexpected? It adds that extra punch to what you're saying.
Then there's kebaktian. That's a noun meaning service, specifically like a church service. The example from the source. Kebaktian di gereja Katolik biasanya diselenggarakan di hari Minggu, which is the service in the Catholic Church is usually held on Sunday. Pretty foundational word if you're talking about religious contexts.
Another key one is mulai. It's a verb meaning to start or to begin. We heard Hana use it for the church service starting, but it's super versatile. The source also gives us this example. Wayang itu mulai. The shadow play has begun.
Right. And another noun from their chat was pendeta, which means father or, priest, pastor. A good example sentence provided is, Pendeta Benjamin seorang lulusan Sekolah Teologi Malang. Father Benjamin graduated from Malang Theological School. Okay. Now, this is just a quick look, obviously. The full list with more examples is right there in the source material for you. But what we really want to emphasize is how seeing these words used in context with clear examples really helps lock them in your memory and helps you understand them properly.
Yeah, it connects the word to how it's actually used in the real world, makes it stick way better than just a list. And it helps you start building your own sentences more naturally too.
Okay, so now let's dig a bit deeper into how some of these phrases are used, because this is where, real fluency starts to show. It's about getting that authentic feel of the language, going beyond just the literal word-for-word translation.
Let's go back to legipula, the one Hannah used. We mentioned it. The source says it can mean also or besides, but technically it functions as something called a correlative conjunction. Fancy term, but basically means it connects two ideas that run parallel or add to each other. Often used to build up a reason or give extra justification, right?
Exactly that. Like in the example, aku senang membeli buku di toko buku ini, koleksinya lengkap lagi pula selalu ada diskon. I like to buy books in this bookstore. It has a complete book collection and also always gives a discount. See, both points explain why the speaker likes the store. It's not just a simple and, it's more like an and what's more, or and on top of that kind of link.
Nice. Okay, next up, mulai, meaning to start or to begin. We saw it used for the church service starting, but it's also really common with time phrases. It acts like starting from.
Yeah, like, mulai minggu depan, aku akan ke Jakarta.
Starting from next week, I'm leaving for Jakarta. Or another one,
Mulai hari ini, aku akan lebih giat belajar.
Starting from today, I'm gonna study harder. It just sets a clear starting point in time for whatever action follows. Super practical for daily planning.
Very useful. And then that phrase from the dialogue, harap, tenang. We learned it's an imperative, a command. The source actually breaks it down nicely for us. Harap means to hope or to expect, and tenang means quiet.
So if you put it together, it quite literally means something like hope for quiet or expect quiet, which makes it a sort of polite or maybe formal way of saying be quiet. The source also mentions alternatives like jangan berisik, which means don't be noisy. That's much more direct. The example given for harap tenang is ibu sedang tidur harap tenang. Mother is sleeping, please be quiet.
Yeah, understanding these phrases, even the ones that seem simple on the surface, really does add that natural sound to your speech. It's not just about getting the words right, but grasping the intention behind them and how they're commonly used. That feels like the jump, doesn't it? Between just being understood and actually sounding, fluent.
Absolutely. And that's a goal so many learners share, right? It's not only about nailing the grammar rules, it's about that deeper thing, that sort of social awareness, the etiquette that's kind of baked into the language itself.
That idea, understanding intention and usage, leads us perfectly into a key grammar point from this lesson. Imperative sentences, commands, like start tenang.
And this brings up a really important question, I think. How does knowing these different ways to give a command actually change how you interact in Indonesian? Because you can give an imperative in a really humble way or a very direct way. Choosing the right one is just crucial for polite communication, especially in a culture where showing respect is so important.
Right. So for the humble way, the polite way, it's always introduced by the word mohon, which basically means please. The structure is usually mohon plus verb plus complement. It signals a polite request, almost like pleading sometimes.
Yeah, so you get phrases like mohon berdiri, please stand up. Very common. And for a really practical one, you might see mohon membuang sampah, tempat sampah. Please throw garbage in the waste bin. Notice how mohon just softens the whole thing, makes it more formal, more respectful. These are the kinds you'd often see on signs in public places or hear in more formal situations.
Okay, but then there's the direct way. This is usually just the verb, either in its basic form or sometimes with the suffix ton added on. The structure is way simpler. Just verb plus object.
And the whole feeling changes dramatically. These are much more direct commands. Sometimes they can sound pretty blunt, actually. Think of things like diam kamu, which is like shut up, or pergi kamu, go away. Or maybe slightly less harsh ones like bantu dia, help her. Now, they're efficient, sure, but using these direct forms in the wrong situation, that can come across as really rude or disrespectful. Especially if you're talking to someone older or someone in authority. It's so important to get this difference.
Oh, absolutely. You can instantly hear the difference in politeness and intent between Mohan Berderi and just yelling, Berderi!
Right.
Knowing which one fits the situation is just vital for getting along respectfully.
Totally. Using a direct command wrongly could easily cause offense without you even realizing it. So knowing this isn't just about grammar points, it's like having a social and cultural key.
And then the source mentions a kind of special form for imperatives too. It's harap plus adjective. And it means something like to be plus adjective.
Right. This form is really handy for general instructions or advice. You often see it on public notices. For instance, harap sopan, be polite, or harap hati-hati, be careful. And like we heard in the dialogue, harap hatinan, be silent or be quiet. It feels less like a command aimed at one specific person and more like a general expectation of how people should behave in that place or situation.
Understanding these different ways to form commands the polite mohan, the direct verb, this harap form, and figuring out the nuances of when to use each one. That's a massive step forward for anyone learning Indonesian. It goes way beyond just memorizing grammar rules. It's about social skills and showing respect.
It really is. It lets you adjust your communication style to fit the situation and show that you have cultural awareness. Which, yeah, is highly valued in Indonesian society.
Okay, so finally, let's try and connect all these language points, the dialogue, the vocab, the grammar, back to a deeper cultural insight that the source material gives us. It talks about the Jakarta Cathedral. And if we link this back to the bigger picture, wow, it paints a really powerful image of Indonesia. It definitely enriches your whole language learning journey.
Yeah, this detail really shines a light on something incredibly significant about Indonesian society. It shows how learning a language isn't just about the words themselves, but about understanding the world where those words are used and the values that shape that world.
So the Jakarta Cathedral. It's a Roman Catholic cathedral located right in the heart of central Jakarta. History-wise, it was first built way back in 1829, though the latest renovation was much more recent in 2002. Its official name apparently came from the Dutch, back when Napoleon Bonaparte's French Empire had influence in the East Indies. Its English name is the Church of Our Lady of Assumption.
But what's really symbolic and just incredibly important for you as a learner to grasp is its location. It stands directly opposite the Istiqlal Mosque, the National Mosque. Now, that's not just a coincidence of city planning. It's a hugely powerful visual symbol of Indonesia's diversity and its spirit of tolerance. It's this beautiful, concrete example of religious harmony. Understanding this background helps you navigate conversations about religion or cultural identity with more sensitivity and appreciate the country's unique pluralism.
Wow, yeah. The building itself is described as being in a stunning neo-Gothic style. Its main entrance faces west, and inside it has three main altars, one for St. Mary, one for St. Joseph, and then the main altar with the cross of Jesus and the tabernacle.
For someone learning Indonesian, knowing about these cultural landmarks really deepens your understanding, not just of the language, but of the people who speak it. It gives context to conversations, even simple ones like Donnie and Hannah's about going to church. It helps you appreciate not just what people are saying, but maybe where they're saying it and what that place signifies to the wider community. It really underscores Indonesia's commitment to religious freedom.
So, what does this all mean? Okay, we've walked through what seemed like a simple Indonesian conversation. We've broken down some key words and phrases, looked at the different ways to give commands, and even touched on a major cultural landmark in Jakarta. Our aim really was to help you get better informed about both the Indonesian language and its cultural setting through this one specific lesson example.
And hopefully in doing that, you've gained a bit more appreciation for just how closely tied language and culture are. Every word, every phrase often carries these deeper meanings, rooted in the society that uses them. It allows for a much richer, fuller understanding.
So the question for you is, how will you use this deeper understanding? Maybe to bridge cultural gaps in your own learning journey. Perhaps you'll start listening out for those subtle differences between Mohan commands and direct ones in Indonesian movies or music. Or maybe you'll spot when someone uses legibula to add weight to their point. The more you actually apply what you've picked up today, the more natural and intuitive your Indonesian's going to feel.
Yeah, the real deep dive happens when you take these little insights and start noticing them yourself in your interactions, in the Indonesian media you watch or listen to, maybe in conversations you have. That's really where knowing stuff transforms into genuine connection.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.